So now we're going to talk about variables and algebraic expressions. But before we go into some problems, which we've already done before, right? I want to go over some vocabulary words with you. So what I want you to know is that the most important quality of mathematics is that it is a science of patterns. Math is nothing but patterns, okay? Communicating about those patterns is done normally when you have variables. Do you know what a variable is? Can you give me a definition of the word variable?
A variable is a number expressed by a letter.
Excellent job. A variable is a number expressed by a letter. Excellent. So communicating math or those patterns is often easier when you use a letter to represent a number that fits in the pattern. So basically, let's write that down. A variable is nothing more than a number represented by a letter. Let's write that down in your notebook. So the reason why you saw me write this little hashtag, because the hashtag in math represents number. Excellent. So I wrote that down. So if I am using that, you know that I just replaced the word number with the hashtag. Okay. So the next vocabulary word is algebraic expression. And you might see it as simple as expression, okay? So using variable notation is the primary goal of learning algebra. Now, we take some important first steps in the beginning to use variable notation. Again, variable notation is just replacing a number with a letter. A combination of operations on letters or variables and numbers is called an algebraic expression. Again, you can simplify it by saying it's called an expression. So based on what I just said, what is an algebraic expression? You didn't hear me? Okay. So let me say it again, and you can just repeat it after me. An algebraic expression is a combination of operations of letters and variables. So again, an algebraic expression or an expression is basically a combination of letters and variables in your expression, right? Or in your operation, excuse me. So let's write that down, and then I'll give you an example. So again, an algebraic expression is a combination of letters and numbers in an operation. Examples of operations are what you see. 3t plus 4. What is the variable in the expression 3t plus 4? T. Excellent. How about 3 plus g? What is the variable?
G.
How about 5 times x plus y? What are the variables?
X and Y.
Very good. So you get the pattern here. An algebraic expression, again, is a combination of letters and numbers in your operation. Any questions on that? Any questions for me?
No.
Okay. So remember what we talked about last time. If I tell you to evaluate the expression, what are you basically doing? If I say evaluate the expression, simplify the expression, what are you doing? We call those, we use that language in algebra. But when you're using, when you're doing regular math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, we say solve. So when you hear evaluate this expression, or they say evaluate for short or simplify for short, all you're doing is solving the problem, solving the operation. Okay? So let me write that down, and you also write that down in your notebook. So, all right. So now when we translate phrases into algebraic expressions, we need to understand that there are key words that you always want to look for in your phrases, especially when you're being given a word problem, okay? So for subtraction, addition, multiplication, and division, we went over this type of stuff, in 4th grade and 5th grade and so forth. So let's see if you remember. What are some of the words? So what words do we use for addition? What words do you have written down in your notebook?
addition.
Mm-hmm.
Plus add sum.
Plus add sum. How many? How about total? Increased by. More than. Added to.
You just say you had to put all of them down.
Okay, but I want you to write all of these, okay? So let me write them on the board. And what you said was correct. But in algebra, you're going to have the words that I also provided as well in your operations. So let me write those down for you, and you write them down in your notebook if they are not already there. So in algebra, these are the key words you want to pay attention to when translating phrases into algebraic expressions, okay, or variable expressions. How about subtraction? What are some words you wrote down in your notebook for subtraction when looking for keywords and phrases or in your operations or word problems? Okay, so what are they again? You said subtract.
Subtraction
minus.
more sum is increased by.
Okay. What we're also going to add is difference minus subtracted from. I think you said that already. Less than. You already said decreased by. Yeah, and less. So let's write that down in our notebook. Okay, so I went ahead and wrote all of them on the board, and you had the majority of all these correct. So make sure in your notebook you have these specific keywords in your notebook, because again, when you're doing algebra and you're translating phrases into algebraic expressions or into variable expressions, these are the key words that you're going to have to look for in your phrases, in the operations, and in the word problems, okay? So for addition, sum, plus, added to, more than, increased by, total. For subtraction, difference, minus, subtracted from, less than, decreased by, less. For multiplication, product, times, multiply, twice, of, double. For division, quotient, divided by, into, and per. Any questions on these terms? Now what I'm going to do, you're going to come to the board. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read a phrase, and you're going to write the algebraic expression. Remember, you have to use these key words to help you translate into variable expressions, okay? So come to the board. I'm going to give you a phrase, and you're going to write the algebraic expression for them. And I want you to underline the key words that we just talked about, okay? So come to the board, and let's do that. Here is the first phrase. 7 increased by a number. How do we write 7 increased by a number? Go ahead and write that down. Before you write it down, what is the key word? What's the key word in that? Increased. So what does increased mean?
To add.
To add. So we know it's going to be an addition problem. So go ahead and write your plus sign. Okay. Now 7 increased by a number.
I did.
Excellent job. 7 increased by a number. Because we're basically saying 7 added to a number, right? Okay. Now the next one is, let's see, I want to give you twice a number. Twice a number. So what is the key word? Twice. And we know what kind of problem that is?
Multiplication.
How do we show multiplication in algebra? A dot. So go ahead. Twice a number. Excellent. How else could we write twice a number if we did not want to put a dot? Very good. How else could we write it? No, we did not do an X in algebra. Very good. Because a letter next to a variable means one more way. How else could we show twice a number? We show multiplication through a dot by putting letters and variables next to each other. Right. So I would have put the 2 first and then the X, but that works. That's the same thing. But how should we do it? We want to put our number first or our variable first?
I try to put the number first.
Number first. So can we rewrite that? where should the parentheses go? Okay, so I said twice a number. So we're multiplying by x, which is correct. But our parentheses should really go around the x. Right? But does it really matter? Why? What property? What property is this? Commutative property. It doesn't matter which way you do it. It's going to be the same answer. And also associative property. Doesn't matter what order you put it in. It's going to be the same number, right? Okay. So go ahead and erase that. I'm going to give you another one. Go ahead and erase that. Yep, however you like. No problem. Okay. The next expression you're going to write is 10 minus a number. What's the key word?
Minus.
So we know we have to do what?
Subtract.
So let's write that subtraction sign first. Now listen again. 10 minus a number. How do we write that? 10 minus a number. Excellent job. We are What does that mean?
X minus the 10. X subtracted by 10.
Did I say x subtracted from a number?
No, 10 subtracted.
Right. So 10 minus a number. Remember, it's a difference. 10 minus a number and 10 subtracted from a number is different. So the one you wrote, is that 10 minus a number or is that 10 subtracted from a number?
10 subtracted from a number.
So you think
No. It's 10 minus a number.
Very good.
Then,
We're very good. Say it before I say very good. What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that it was gonna be 10 minus the number because
Is that 10 minus a number?
No. Yeah.
So this is 10 minus a number.
10 minus a number. Yeah.
Very good.
You kept on.
So how about 10 subtracted from a number? What is, show me 10 subtracted from a number? What's the key word?
Subtract.
So gonna put your minus sign first on the board. Now, how do we do 10 subtracted from a number? How do we do 10 subtracted from a number?
Do 10 subtracted by a number.
Excellent job. So this is, can you write your 10 better? That looks like I don't know what it looks like. So this is 10 subtracted from a number because you have your 10 and the minus sign says, point to the minus sign. You're taking away 10 from a number. And this is 10 minus a number because you are taking 10 and you are taking away that number from 10. Does it make sense? So when you're doing your problem and they give you a phrase, you have to pay attention to the order of the operation along with the key word because you will get confused when you see these types of phrases. Okay? Now I want you to write this one. 2 subtracted from a number. 2 subtracted from a number. We just talked about it. What's the key word?
10 subtracted by a number.
So what do we have to do?
Subtract 10 by a number.
So the subtraction sign. So let's put our minus sign, subtraction sign. Very good. And we're saying 2 subtracted from a number. Can you write 2 subtracted from a number, please?
Two subtracted from a number.
2 subtracted from a number.
So 2 is being subtracted from the number.
Correct. So I want you to write it, not say it.
Mommy, I gotta wash my hands.
Okay, wash your hand for me. Excellent job. Point to the minus sign.
Turn on
We're
the water.
taking 2 away from the number. Very good. 2 subtracted from a number. Now I want you to do the quotient of 6 and a number. What's the key word?
Quotient.
Which means we're going to
Divide.
Excuse me?
Divide.
Divide, not divide. I'm not playing right now. Divide. So in algebra, you will see divide that way, or we know we have a line. Excellent.
Like that.
Okay. So again, the quotient of 6 and a number. The quotient of 6 and a number. And that is correct. Now let's write it the other way as a fraction, or the other way of doing division. How would you write that? The quotient of 6 and a number. How would I write that? So you wrote it the regular way.
The quotient of 6 and a number?
How would we write that the other way of doing division with the line looking like a fraction? Excellent job. So the number is the whole, and the part is 6.
If they
Excellent
ask you to
job.
simplify that, that's all you could go to.
Exactly. Great job.